Welcome to Food Safety University. Pesticides. Let's be honest, using pesticides can be kind of a pain. When you use pesticides, there are a lot of rules and regulations to follow. Lots. So, let's get comfortable. There are lots of labels with lots of fine print to read. It can be a hassle. But all these rules and regulations are there for a reason. They're there to keep you, your coworkers, and the consumer safe. But first things first, what's a pesticide? A pesticide is any substance or mixture of substances intended for preventing, destroying, repelling, or mitigating any pest. Pesticides can be insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, and chemicals that can control pests. And pests can be animals, insects, or unwanted plants, also known as weeds. Sanitizers used for cleaning can also fall under the pesticide heading and have similar regulations. Because pesticides and sanitizers can be dangerous, especially if used incorrectly, they are regulated by the EPA. Most of these pesticides have a registration number. This registration number lets you look up the full product label online. This online label has all the rules and regulations that you need to follow to use it. This label information has been developed after extensive research on product, environmental, and public health impacts. Follow the instructions on the label. If you don't, you can make yourself sick, contaminate your farm, and harm the consumer. You can also risk legal action. That could cost your farm lots of money and potentially cause job losses. What info will you find on a label? You'll see what kind of crops a particular pesticide can be used on. For instance, a product that's approved to be used on watermelons may not be approved for leafy greens. Why? They're different. You eat leafy greens whole and raw, which makes certain pesticides unsafe to use. A watermelon has a thick rind to protect it. You'll also see other rules of application, like if there's a waiting period before you can re-enter the field after a product is applied. This keeps you safe, as well as keeps your clothes from getting contaminated with pesticide residue. It's critical to ensure good communication about field applications and to establish policies and procedures that ensure nobody enters a field when a re-entry restriction is in place. You'll also get information about personal protective equipment, PPE, and whether special masks or protective gear need to be worn, as well as environmental conditions to keep in mind when you apply a pesticide. This means looking at the temperature, wind direction, and other weather conditions before you apply. You should also be aware of any certifications or permits you need to get before you can apply pesticides. If you are hiring someone to apply pesticides, handle pest control, or create sanitation protocols, be sure they are a licensed pest control operator. Sanitizers also fall under the pesticide category, and you have to follow the instructions on their labels to make sure they work and are safe to use. Some sanitizers are safe and approved for cleaning surfaces, but not food. When you apply a sanitizer not approved for food contact, it could result in a residue that contaminates the food, which would then be eaten and could make someone very sick. Plus, have you ever tasted sanitizer? Let's just say it's not super delicious. You also need to be aware of other application rules. For example, a sanitizer label might say that you need to leave it on for 30 seconds before wiping off, or that it needs to be rinsed off and not simply wiped. Not following these could mean that the sanitizer isn't as effective at killing pathogens. The rules also go beyond the application. You need to pay careful attention to where pesticides and sanitizers can be stored. Some things to watch out for. Do you have mixed solutions of a product not permitted for direct food contact next to a product that is allowed? This could result in staff applying the wrong product and in the wrong manner. Are solutions clearly labeled? Are complete labels readily accessible because the directions on the bottle are not all-inclusive? In fact, most container labels do not list all the crops or surfaces where products can be used, so it's important to review the complete label that's online before you do anything. You may also want to have a paper copy, readily accessible, just because you might not always be in a place where you can log on. See, the dang Wi-Fi is out again. That's a lot to digest, but to sum it up, if you're using a pesticide or sanitizer, read the container label, then get the registration number. Look it up online and read the full label. Read it again, and follow it to a T. It'll be a pain, but it won't kill you.